Let people join.
Hi, we're just waiting for some people to join, and then I am a bit bad with social media, so I'll try and get Rakesh Mohan online. You guys will have to bear with me. I've just tried to add him. Hi,
Hello
Rakesh sir,
Ashish, how are you? I'm
I
very
am
good. How
good.
are you?
I am good.
Excellent. Excellent.
I,
Excellent.
we'll just wait for some people to join and also
Sure, sure.
let the stabilize. I'm getting grains in your feed.
Is it?
Yeah, it is a bit distorted, I
Okay.
guess.
Okay, okay. Just let me check.
So if you have a Wi-Fi or
Can you hear me, Ashish?
I can hear you, but again, I think we will make do with this, but it is graining. Your feed is graining.
Hello.
Hello, I can hear you.
Just a moment.
So we'll wait for Rakesh sir to join. But I think this is going to be a very interesting
But I think this
session.
is going to be there seems to be some problem. I'm so sorry. Just
No problem. You can go
just
out
give
and
me
try.
a moment, Ashish ji. I'll try to connect back.
Yeah, no problem. So I guess this is going to be a very interesting session. Again, as it is about nutrition, which a lot of people would like to know, because that is what most people are interested in it when they're feeding their dogs. As more and more choices of dog food are available to customers, they would like to have much more information so that they can take an informed choice as to what they should be feeding their pets. So we'll just try and connect again. And I've almost seen every Instagram live session with some issues or the other, because I guess so many people are doing live sessions maybe somewhere around this time itself. Hi, all of you. I see so many people waving. One second, we are trying to get Rakesh sir to join again.
Am I audible, Ashish ji?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Ah, thank God. Nice to be back.
Yeah. So we already have a lot of people. So let us start. This is a very interesting session. That's why I have made a lot of notes, and I've already pre-done some questions. So you'll have to bear with me when I'm trying to read some of them. I think again there is a problem with your connection, sir. Are you on Wi-Fi or are you on your phone's connection? I'll try and introduce Rakesh sir. He's gone back. We'll try and get him again. So Rakesh Mohan is the director cum general manager of Scientific Remedies, which is one of the leading companies in pet healthcare industry, providing world-class pet products and pet food to the Indian customers with a mission to provide improved productivity, greater longevity, and better quality of life. Scientific Remedies has a collaboration with Hills Pet Nutrition, a Colgate-Palmolive subsidiary, and a global leader in pet nutrition to market their range of pet foods in the Indian subcontinent. They also have a tie-up with Befar, a Dutch company with more than 816 products sold more than 83 countries worldwide to market and manufacture the range of healthcare products in India. So with more than 9 years of experience in the pet industry under his belt and being a pet parent for more than 20 years, Rakesh sir and I are going to discuss about the basics of pet nutrition and try to find out the answers as to why of everything. We're trying to get him back again.
Technical problems are affecting the
Yes, sir, you
feed.
are back, I get it.
I was not able to see you in between.
Are you on Wi-Fi or are you on your phone connection? Can you hear me?
Hello?
Can you hear me? I can hear you clearly. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. So in the meantime, I just gave your introduction, and thank you so much for coming live on our Instagram channel. So I've just told them about your experience in the pet industry, you being a pet parent for over 20 years, your
Yes.
collaboration with Hills Pet Nutrition, a subsidiary of Colgate Palmolive Company, and Buffer. So
Absolutely.
I would like to welcome you once again, though with this
Thank you
small
so much.
glitch of
Yeah. The technical issues always come in, but I'm really happy that I have been permitted to come to this platform, and I thank you for inviting me to interact with you, and not only you, but all your lovely clients and pet parents who, in the middle of all these crises, are showering their pets, which are now as good as family members, with all the love these days. And the fact that we have so many people attending today itself means that they're removing their time that they can spend for watching Netflix and Prime, and attending this video call so that they can understand a little more about their pet. So that in itself means a lot to I'm sure people like you and me. And the discussion today is basically revolving around understanding uh, how we can keep our pets happy. And a happy pet, one of the premises for keeping a pet happy is to see to it that he stays healthy. And to keep a pet healthy, it is important to feed well. So I will do whatever, or I'll do my best to share whatever little I know with this regard today to understand the science behind happy. So yes, that's it from me as well.
yeah. So let's get straight to it. Why is
Right,
nutrition so important? There is a lot of confusion in the minds of pet parents about nutrition or ingredients. What do you think
right.
should a pet parent be more concerned about while making his food choice?
Right. So, thank you so much, Ashiji, for asking that question. I'm really glad you chose that question to start with, because the understanding of that question is very elementary for even our discussion moving forward as well. So, it is important to understand the difference, first of all. What are nutrients and what are ingredients? Nutrients are any food constituent that supports life. They are any constituent of the food that is metabolically useful for the body. And what are ingredients? Ingredients are vehicles that deliver nutrients to the body. The body of a pet, whether it is a dog or cat, it requires nutrition. And the amount of nutrition and the balance in which it requires depends on several factors, such as the life stage of the pet, whether it is a puppy or a kitten, or an adult dog or a cat, or a senior dog or a cat. Each of these life stages have different nutritional requirements. Therefore, it is important to feed a food that that provides nutrition according to the specific life stage, lifestyle. For example, whether the dog or cat is sedentary, whether the dog or cat is active. These factors also play an important role in understanding the nutrition of the pet. And finally, life condition. For example, is the dog or cat neutered or spayed? Even these factors have an important role on the nutrition. So as long as a pet parent chooses a pet food that has the nutritional combination in the right balance and quantities to meet the needs of the pet's body at that point of time in his life, keeping the life stage, lifestyle, and life condition in mind, the pet parent would be making a good choice.
Great. So with that understanding, why can a pet parent not simply cook the food at home by identifying the nutrient source? What do you feel, in your opinion, is more beneficial? Home food or packaged food, and why?
Right. So, first of all, for those who have like asked this question through your platform, I really appreciate the heart behind which, pet parents, they love their pets so much, just like their children, that they have this heart and this desire that they want to make homemade fresh food for their pets at all times. But the reality is that the nutritional requirements for a pet differs vastly from the nutritional requirement for a human. To give you an example, a human can mature from a newborn baby to an adult within a span of 18 years. But whereas in the same example, let us take an example for a dog. A dog grows from a newborn puppy to an adult within a span of 12 to 15 months. So the nutritional requirements are several times more in a dog compared to a human. For example, they need 4 times.
Just one second.
Sorry?
Some people are saying that they can't hear you. I can hear you. I'm just trying to reconfirm with people. If anybody does have a problem, just let us know. I give a thumbs up if you can hear us.
Am I audible? Check 1, 2, 3. If you can just put a thumbs up. Okay, great. But we'll wait for maybe 1 or 2 responses from the
I think
audience.
some people have put their thumbs up. Yes. So continue. Sorry.
Okay, great. So I was saying the nutritional requirements of a pet are vastly different than the nutritional requirements of a human. For example, a dog would require 4 times the protein than a human does. It would require 5 times the vitamin D, 12 times the calcium, 2.5 times the vitamin A. So it is practically impossible for a pet parent with all their best intention to prepare a food keeping in mind these nutritional balances and percentages. Therefore, for all practical purposes and conveniences, it is always better that a pet parent chooses a pet food that gives nutritionally balanced and complete pet food for their pet, keeping in mind the life stage, lifestyle, and condition of that pet.
Okay, so for the benefit of those listening today, can you share what are the various nutrients for pets?
Absolutely. So broadly, you can classify nutrients into 6 categories. They are water, carbohydrates, protein, fats, vitamins, and minerals. These 6 categories of nutrients can further be simplified into 2 groups, that is macronutrients and micronutrients. Macronutrients are called macronutrients because they are required much more in terms of volume and quantity in the body, and therefore they are called macronutrients. These include water, carbohydrates, protein, and fat. And as far as micronutrients are concerned, again, as the name suggests, they are required in much smaller measures, and which include vitamins and minerals.
It is interesting that you mentioned water, because normally people don't associate water with a nutrient. It is more of an ingredient. So can you explain this?
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, water is the most essential nutrient amongst all these nutrients. A dog or a cat, or for that matter, any animal cannot survive without water. Water comprises anywhere between 40% to 80% of the body mass of a pet, and depending on species to species. And a 10% loss in water can lead to serious illnesses, and a 15% loss in water can even cause death. Therefore, it is very important that all of you lovely pet parents always supply your pets with fresh supply of water at all times.
So then how do these pet food companies incorporate water in their foods?
Right. So that is also a very interesting question. So when we talk about pet food, there are three types of foods that pet food companies manufacture. One is dry foods, second is wet food, and third is what they call the semi-moist or the soft dry kind of pet food. The dry pet foods contain anywhere from 3% to 11% of moisture content, which is the contribution of water into the body. The wet pet food contains anywhere about 75% of water content, and the soft dry or the semi-moist pet foods contain anywhere between 25 to 35% of the have 25 to 35% moisture in the food. In variable of what food you're feeding, whether it is dry food, wet food, and or semi-moist food, it is very important to always supply fresh supply of water to the pet, because the total amount of water in the body of the dog or the cat will always be the water that it consumes directly through what you provided to the dog or the cat, plus the water that it receives from the food.
The second nutrient that you've mentioned is carbohydrates. But
Right.
feeding carbohydrates really necessary to just feed them what they eat naturally? Generally, like they say, a meat-based diet, like in the wild, your wolves and everything, they eat
Right.
natural food. So why
Yes.
carbohydrates?
So I am also glad that you brought this up, because there is this common theory and understanding that dogs have evolved from wolves, which is true. But dogs have evolved from an extinct species of wolf, which, like I said, is extinct. It is no longer living right now. But just because they have evolved from wolves doesn't mean that they are similar in the way that they process food. I would like to take this opportunity to share a very interesting study. The University of Uppsala in Sweden did a research on this, where they identified the genetic codes of 60 dogs and 20 wolves, and they identified that there were actually 36 different regions of differences of genetic codes between dogs and wolves. Out of these 36 different regions, which include 122 genes, 19 regions belong to the way that the brains developed. And out of those 19 regions, 9 belong to the way that the nervous system developed. This is one of the reasons why dogs behave, their impulses, and the way they react and think are very different to that of those of wolves. Secondly, coming to the differences in terms of the genetic codes, they identified that there were, out of those 36 differences, 10 of those belong to the way dogs and wolves processed food in themselves. One of the difference in genetic code, that difference that they saw, was in the gene called alpha amylase 2B. Now, this is a gene that is available both in dogs and wolves. But they found that the dogs had this gene 28 times more than any of the wolves that they studied. I'll repeat, 28 times more, not 28% more, 28 times more. And
Okay.
this gene, alpha amylase 2B, is responsible for producing the enzyme alpha amylase in the pancreas, which is responsible to break down the starch that the body receives and convert it into simpler carbohydrates and convert it into glucose. The differences in gene sequencing also led them to understand that the length of the enzyme maltase in the body of a dog was far longer than the length of the enzyme maltase in wolves. And the length of the enzyme of maltase in dogs was similar to the length of the enzyme in herbivorous animals such as cows and rabbits, and also certain omnivorous animals such as mouse and rats. So this has led the researchers to understand that dogs have a far superior ability to digest carbohydrates and starch, and it is not only something that they can do, but it is something that is very useful and important for them.
This is by far the most informative that I have ever got as far as this question was answered, wherever I have talked to everybody all across the world. And it's very
Right.
interesting. Nobody has given me such detailed information on that. This helps us understand how maybe dogs can digest carbohydrates more. But can you clarify how is it useful for the pet?
Absolutely, Ashiji. So, when we talk about carbohydrates, they can be classified into two types. One is the digestible carbohydrates, and second is the indigestible carbohydrates. The digestible carbohydrates basically include starch and sugar, right? These can be derived from rice, wheat, corn, potato, legumes, pea, so on and so forth, peas and so on and so forth. Uh, the main functionality of digestible carbohydrates is to provide energy to the body. Now, someone may ask, why is energy required to come from carbohydrates? They can also receive from protein and fat. But the reality is that there are certain organs in the bodies of dogs and cats. For example, the brains, the rod cells in the eye, the nervous system. These organs in the body, they need energy from glucose. They cannot, consume energy to function from other sources such as fatty acids, which is why the and the wondrous way in which God has made humans and animals, the body also has a mind of its own. The body knows that these organs always need glucose, so it always prepares reserves of glucose to supply to these organs so that they never stop functioning. Now, if the dog or the cat does not receive, say specifically the dog does not receive adequate supply of starch or carbohydrates in the body, then what the body will do is it will shunt away amino acids and fatty acids, which are structural components of tissues, cells, organs, which are used for muscle building, growth, development, fetal development. It will turn away amino acids from these parts and convert it into glucose so that they can provide energy to the this thing, thereby compromising the overall well-being of the dog and the cat. Therefore, it is very important that you provide carbohydrates in you provide highly digestible carbohydrates that give supply necessary energy to the body in forms of glucose, because the body of a dog or cat, when it needs energy, it will first try to source energy from the glucose or glycogen, then it will move to fat, and only after all the fat reserves in the body are complete will it then go to protein. So this is how the body of the pet works. So therefore, the nutrition that we give should be suited to the body of the pet, and therefore it is important to supply carbohydrates to cats. Carbohydrates are also fiber, which helps in digestion, which helps to provide satiety and fullness, feeling of fullness, and it promotes the growth of beneficial bacteria. So, which again has consequently has a lot of other benefits for the pet. So overall, carbohydrates is a very good nutrient and essential nutrient for the pet.
Just 1 second, your volume has gone down. Can everybody hear him? Just put a thumbs up if you can hear both of us clearly. I think suddenly his volume went down. Hello?
Can you hear me? 1, 2, 3, check. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So now that brings me to the very popular question: is grains bad or harmful for pets? And what is the difference of using grains or grain-free sources of carbohydrates?
Right. So again, I'm really glad that you asked this question, because this is again something that a lot of people have in their mind. So let us understand for the time being, for the moment, why do pet foods use grains or a grain-free alternative such as pea or peas or pea starch or potato? They use these ingredients to provide starch, to provide energy to the body, right? Now, in order to understand the energy of to the body, it is important to understand the digestibility of the ingredient. The nutritive value of an ingredient in its raw form will differ to the nutritive value of an ingredient in a cooked or extruded form. This is something that we all know and can relate to, because even as humans, we are for human nutrition also we know this. Now, in pet foods, whether it is a grain or it is a grain-free ingredient such as potato or pea starch, they both go through a process what is called gelatinization, which means that these grains or grain-free alternatives are heated, they are mixed with water, they are grinded to ensure that the crystalline structure of the starch, or to keep it in simpler terms, the complex carbohydrates are broken down into much simpler carbohydrates, ensuring that each of these sources provide almost 100% digestibility, which means that the entire carbohydrates get completely absorbed in the small intestine and nothing goes into the large intestine, which means every part of the carbohydrates is 100% digested for using for energy. The other benefits of using grains are that grains are not only useful for providing energy, but they are very useful for several other nutrients. For example, let us take an example of corn. Corn is very rich in other nutrients such as essential fatty acids, vitamins, minerals, and even fiber. So these are the reasons why grains are also a very good source of energy, providing energy and other nutrients as well.
Okay. Also, because of the popular perception that grains causes allergies in pets, can you tell us more about this?
Sure. So when we talk about allergy, I will take some time to understand, to explain about allergic reactions in pets. So allergic reactions in pets can manifest in terms of itching, rashes. It can, in terms of excessive hair fall, inflammation of the skin. And if it is a food related allergic reaction, it could also come in terms of gastrointestinal reflexes and reactions such as vomiting and diarrhea. But out of all the allergic reactions that are found in dogs and cats, would you know, Ashishji, what percentage of these reactions are actually coming from food reactions, food allergens?
No.
It is only 10 to 15% globally, I'm talking about,
Okay.
of these reactions come because of food. 80 to 90% of these reactions actually come because of environmental factors. Environmental factors include dust, pollen, tick, flea, mite infestations. It could also be because of bacterial or fungal infections. So if a pet parent from Just Dogs is receiving or is finding a dog or cat with symptoms of allergic reaction, my recommendation would be first to consult a veterinarian and get an allergic test done. The dog can do the skin scraping and the blood test to identify what is the source of allergy. Once it is ruled out that the source of allergy has got nothing to do with environment, then we have to address the food related allergy. Now, to understand the food related allergic reaction, it is important to understand that whether it is a dog or a cat, any dog or cat is susceptible to release allergic reactions to any source of protein that is most commonly received by the dog or cat. It doesn't mean that the protein quality is bad. For example, globally, they did a study in terms of which are the most common allergens. And in this study, whether it was for dogs or cats, none of the top three ingredients included grains. In fact, the first ingredient was beef, because beef is the most commonly fed meat abroad, followed by dairy products, followed by chicken. Now, we all know that chicken is a source of is an excellent source of protein. But just because chicken ranks higher in terms of being an allergen, does that make chicken a bad ingredient? No. But because that is a very common source of protein, at some point of time, a dog or cat can think of that specific protein as being a foreign body and release certain allergic reactions to it. The only way to resolve food allergies or food allergic reactions is either eliminating all sources of protein that the dog has eaten so far and introducing a novel source of protein. So a novel source of protein is not what the pet food company will call itself as a novel source of protein, but what is novel to the dog in the life of his in his life of, you know, how much ever ingredients he has eaten. For example, if there is a puppy who has been fed bison, duck, North Atlantic salmon since his puppyhood, for him, North Atlantic salmon, bison, and duck will not be a novel source of protein. Then you will have to identify what all protein he has eaten and then introduce a protein which he has never eaten. For example, in this case, it could be chicken. So then you could introduce chicken, which will be a novel source of protein for the dog. So a lot of times, even this terminology of novel source of protein is it needs to be understood better, because it is not novel in terms of worldwide usage, but in case of the pet is what is more important.
So from what I understand, it's not so much the food sources that cause most of the allergies. It's mostly because of the environmental factor and maybe the protein sources that are frequently fed to the pet. Since we've come to proteins, can I request you to explain a bit more about proteins? Because this is a very interesting subject, proteins.
Absolutely, absolutely. So proteins are also a very, very, very essential and vital nutrient for specifically for dogs and cats. Cats have a higher requirement of protein compared to dogs. Proteins are building blocks of life. They are comprised of chain of amino acids, and that although there are hundreds and thousands of amino acids in animal protein, they have identified 21 amino acids, out of which 10 are essential for dogs and 11 are essential for cats. Essential means that they need to be incorporated in the food that you feed, because the body cannot synthesize it on its own. So there are 10 essential amino acids for dogs and 11 essential amino acids for cat. Proteins and amino acids, they, like I said, they form building blocks of life. They are present in all the tissues. They are present in skin, hair, nails, muscle, tendons, ligaments, enzymes, hormones. They help perform several metabolic processes. So they are extremely important to be incorporated in the diet of the dog or cat. Excess proteins cannot be stored, and therefore they have to be broken down by the liver and the kidneys, and the nitrogenous compounds have to be converted into urea and excreted via urine. Sources of proteins could be both plant-based and animal-based. Animal-based proteins sources includes meat, which could be chicken meat, lamb meat, fish meat, so on and so forth, or eggs or dairy products. And plant-based sources includes legumes, beans, sprouts, these kind of ingredients. So to summarize, it is very important for the diet to have high quality of protein in the right quantities, avoiding excesses.
Since we spoke about the sources of the proteins, isn't it true that both cats and dogs need very high content of meat, as both are carnivores?
Right. So first, let me take this opportunity to I will address this question in two parts. One is mentioning dogs and cats as carnivorous animals, and second is, of course, requiring high content of meat in their food, as has been perpetuated by a lot of companies in the industry. So when we talk about dogs, they are not carnivorous animals. Cats are true and obligate carnivorous animals, but dogs are not carnivorous animals. There are two reasons why people generally think of dogs as carnivorous animals. One is because they belong to the family of Carnivora, and second is because of the relation that we mentioned about their evolution through wolves. The part of evolution of wolves that we have already covered. Just because they are a part of the group Carnivora doesn't mean they are carnivorous animals. The group Carnivora includes 12 species, 12 families, and more than 250 species. That includes herbivorous animals and omnivorous animals. In fact, the panda is also a carnivora, but that doesn't make panda a carnivorous animal, right? So the reason why dog is not a carnivorous animal is because the body of the dog, the liver of the dog, can adapt the amount of protein breakdown to the amount of dietary intake that of protein that it receives from the dog. And there is no nutrient that the dog must receive from meat. It cannot receive from anything else. That there is no such nutrient where the dog has to receive it from meat, unlike the cat. On the contrary, the cat obligate carnivorous animals. All pet parents who have cats at home, please understand that supplying proteins and amino acids through meat and providing meat in the diet is very important, because they are obligate carnivores. It's the liver of cats is like it produces enzymes to break down protein at a continuous basis and rate, invariable of whether you're providing it in the dietary intake or not. That is one. Second is, cat also needs an essential amino acid called taurine, which is available only in meat. Third is that cats also need an essential fatty acid called arachidonic acid, which is available only in meat, and they need preformed vitamin A. These three nutrients are available only in meat. Therefore, they can be called as carnivorous animals, because their energy requirement and nutritional requirement, a portion of it has to come from meat and protein base coming from meat. But the same cannot be said for dogs. Dogs do not have any requirement of essential amino acids that is exclusive to meat sources, and its body is can digest carbohydrates very well and is adaptable in terms of breaking down and digesting the protein sources as well. So that explains the carnivorous part of the question. Coming to excessive supply of meat, we all know that meat is an excellent source of supplying protein to the body. The quality of protein can be measured by the digestibility and the bioavailability of the protein. Digestibility refers to how quick the protein ingredient is absorbed in the gut, and bioavailability refers to the range of essential amino acids there in that particular ingredient. In both of these counts, meat rates higher. Therefore, pet food companies normally and generally always source their proteins through a meat source, predominantly through meat source. But is providing excessive amount of meat or protein necessary? No. Why? Because proteins cannot be stored in the body. Any amount of protein that is excessive after the body has used the proteins for growth, development, repair, tissues, enzymes, hormones, everything. Any excessive protein that you feed to the dog or the cat will either be first converted into fat, and if there is still excessive protein, it will be broken down by the liver. The nitrogenous compounds such as ammonia will then be converted into urea by kidney, further converted into uric acid, and then excreted through urine. So we will essentially be putting liver and kidney into full workload, full time. It is like a lot of people working from home during coronavirus situation. Even though they're working from home, sometimes they have experienced that they're working more than when they've been going to office. So we are putting liver and kidney in full workload through, and while livers and kidneys are capable of doing this, over a period of time, it is possible for these kidneys, because all dogs or cats above a certain age are highly susceptible to getting chronic renal failure. And one of the unfortunate parts about chronic renal failure is that the symptoms begin to appear only after 75% of the kidney functionality has been destroyed. Therefore, it is very important to ensure that the nutrient that you provide in the food is optimal, so that each of the organs in the body performs optimally, stays healthy, not only for that point of time in life, but as long as possible, because all of us want our pets to live long and spend good amount of time with them. So this is to summarize, feeding excessive ingredient or excessive protein or any nutrient for that matter is never beneficial and unnecessary for the pets.
So what I understand is dogs are omnivorous, cats are carnivorous, and while meat is a good source of protein, excess of it can lead to imbalances and health issues in the pet.
Absolutely.
Here I would just start taking some questions which have come over here. I'm very bad at understanding the questions also, but still I'll try. So one of the questions which came some time back was, what is the best food to avoid hair fall and skin issues? That was from Ketan.
Okay. So hi Ketan, thank you so much for your question. I hope you are keeping well and doing well. So if you want to really address that question, there would be more questions that I would need to ask, like what are you feeding currently? And what is the condition of the pet? Does the pet have any other medical conditions or not? Especially if you're seeing excessive hair fall, things like this, it would be good to consult a vet as well to see if there is an allergic reaction because of any other environmental factor or not. That being said, if I was to respond to this question purely nutritionally, right, so I think K9 has responded skin and coat issues only, but skin and coat issues also, Ketan, could be because of multiple reasons, so it needs to be assessed. But if I was to answer to your question purely nutritionally, there could be multiple reasons because of which there could be skin and coat problems. Like for example, it could be that if the food that you're providing has poor quality of protein, does it have good source of protein in the food, then that could be a problem. If the supply of vitamin A is not sufficient, that could be a problem. If the pet does not have has deficiency of essential fatty acids, that could be a problem. So what is important to understand is, what are you feeding to the pet currently? If you are feeding pet food it is unlikely that the pet will have deficiencies. Excesses are more common. But it is also possible that certain pet food companies in the process of extrusion may have lost certain vitamins and minerals. That is a possibility. But I cannot say definitively sitting over here. It needs to be assessed by a vet. In such case, you would, and especially if you are feeding home food, you could look at feeding a food that has a higher quality of protein, that supplements essential vitamins like vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin E, and also provide essential fatty acids, which can be supplemented through supplements such as Bafer salmon oil. And even if you're feeding home food, you can give supplements such as Top 10, Bafer Top 10, which includes all the multivitamins and minerals. So that being said, if it is home food, if it is a dog food, maybe you should change the food to a food that could contain better source of protein and receive complete nutrients as well.
Then there's another question. I have it comes from Golden Zimba. I have a 4-month-old golden retriever. I'm giving him milk and RC, alternatively feeding him 4 to 5 times a day. Would like to know what other food can I introduce?
How old is the dog?
4-month-old.
4-month-old. Okay. And they're feeding milk and RC.
Yeah.
Okay. So first thing I would like to understand is if you're looking for a change, clearly you may not be happy with the food that you have right now. Is that the reason? Or are you driven by the thought that dogs need variety and therefore you want to change? So if you're unhappy with the food right now, then there are obviously other alternatives. Hills has a complete range of pet food that is specifically prepared for different life stage, lifestyles, and life condition. So I believe you said it was golden retriever. Am I right?
Yeah. No, it was
Right.
golden retriever.
Yeah. So if it is a 4-month golden retriever, it would be a puppy. So you can feed a puppy food from Hills or a good reputed company that believes in complete nutrition and precisely balanced nutrition for different life stage lifestyles, supplementing with not only nutrients but also antioxidants that enhances the immunity and gives a good ability of the dog to look healthy not only from outside but also inside.
Sahana is asking which is best, home cooked food or packaged dry food?
I think that is a point that we have already responded to. But Sahana, I will just summarize what I have just shared. Dogs and cats have very different nutritional requirements to those of humans because the way they age and the way their body functions and performs is very different. Therefore, and it is very difficult for a pet parent or for you to ensure that you provide the nutrients in the right balance and quantity by preparing home food. We really appreciate your heart of wanting to provide fresh food, but for all practical and for all practical purposes and also from the point of view of convenience, we would recommend you to feed a pet food that gives it precisely balanced nutrition.
Golden Zimba also just wrote, just wondering if I'm missing out on anything for him. You just gave the golden retriever question.
Yes, so you can just probably one thing I would recommend is you can stop feeding milk to the pet because it is unnecessary after 4 months of age, and also because after 2 months the enzymes lactase in the dog start depleting. So you might want to reduce or not give milk, because if it is a pet food, it should be nutritionally complete and balanced. If you're looking for an alternative pet food, you can always look for a Hill Science diet, say Puppy Large Breed or Puppy Large Breed Lamb and Rice, or any other reputed brand that you have faith in.
So we'll take a few questions later again. One second. My dog always licks his feet and ends up having a pink swelling. What could be the cause?
Right. So this is a typical example of an allergic reaction or a skin condition. So it needs to be checked by a vet. Please get yourself checked by the vet and identify what is the reason for the the reaction or the inflammation that is happening. This licking of feet is basically a natural reaction of the dog to kind of make himself more comfortable. He's uncomfortable and he's probably having itching and inflammation there. So please get yourself checked. Try to identify if the dog stays mostly indoors or outdoors. If he's staying outdoors, he's more vulnerable to environmental factors. And if identify what is the dietary intake, are you giving good source of protein? And once you consult the vet and he rules out that it is anything from the environmental factor, he can follow the suggestion that we have just shared in this conversation today. Either you can introduce a novel source of protein or a hydrolyzed protein. Hydrolyzed protein can be received from therapeutic pet foods such as prescription diet, ZD, and there are other therapeutic pet foods as well. But if you want a novel source of protein, then again, you would have to meet the vet to basically get the recommendation. But I'm just giving you the nutritional method of resolving it. But it doesn't mean that it has a nutritional basis. So please consult your vet and get it checked as soon as possible.
Now we'll go to the continuation of what we were talking about.
Absolutely.
The next nutrient we are talking about is a very touchy nutrient, fats. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Right, of course. So with so much media and communication with respect to fats, we all know that fats can lead to obesity, or make a person overweight. But that doesn't make fat a bad nutrient. It is in fact a very important nutrient and very essential nutrient. So first of all, fat is the most energy dense form of nutrient. Fats provide 8.5 kilocalories per gram, whereas proteins and carbohydrates provide 3.5 kilocalories per gram. So they give more than double the energy to a dog or cat than the protein or fat or protein or carbohydrates. So it is always important to give fats in optimal levels. That being said, fat also has several other functions. Fats are sources of essential fatty acids. Essential fatty acids are useful for skin and coat condition, to fight inflammation. They are used in therapy to help recover from inflammatory conditions such as arthritis, skin conditions, so on and so forth. Their fats are also very useful in improving the palatability of the food. They are useful and not useful. They are required by the body to absorb, transport, and store fat-soluble vitamins, including vitamin A, D, E, and K. And these essential fatty acids that I just spoke to you about, they are also structural components of all cells, most of the cells in the body. Common examples of omega-3 fatty acids are DHA. We know DHA because Bonvita has promoted DHA a lot. It also has DHA. Horlicks also says it has DHA. Why? Because DHA helps in the development of the brain and also the vision. Because the rod cells in the eye and the cells in the brain, they have high concentration of DHA. So when you supplement high levels of DHA in the food, you have high levels of DHA in the brain, in the blood, therefore high levels of DHA in all these organs, therefore enhancing their functionality. Which is why fat is very essential. But if you feed fat in excess, then it will definitely lead the dog or cat to become obese, which can further cause several other medical conditions which we don't want. Fats can be derived from, again, animal sources as well as plant sources. Animal sources of fat include animal fat like chicken fat, pork fat, fish oil. Fish oil is a very good source of omega-3, omega-6 fatty acids. You can also receive fat from plant sources such as sunflower oil, safflower oil, corn oil. All of these are also plant sources of fat. So as long as we are providing all the essential fatty acids to dogs and cats and providing fats in the optimal levels, it is good to keep giving fats, and the requirement of fats will vary from, again, life stage and lifestyle of the condition. A sedentary dog or cat needs to have lower fat. Puppy needs to have higher fat because their mouth, their digestive, the amount that they eat is less. So they need to meet more energy using less food. Therefore, because fat is energy dense, you can include more fat in puppies vis-a-vis adults. So life stage to life stage, lifestyle to lifestyle, these nutrients will vary.
Obesity is a big problem in India because most of the pets are not so active, and also most of them are not working dogs. Internationally, most of the dogs they keep are working dogs, but in India that's
Correct.
not the case. Can you
Absolutely.
just
Absolutely.
shed some light on this?
Sure. So, like I said, when I have explained, when you feed more carbohydrates than is essential, carbohydrates get converted into glucogen and glucogen gets converted into fat. When you feed more protein than it is essential, protein gets either first gets converted into fat and then it gets broken down by the liver and kidney. And if you feed more fat in the body, again it gets fat. There are two things that we need to address here. One is the diet that we provide to the dog and cat, and second is the lifestyle. It would be really good if all pet parents, all you lovely pet parents, made a habit of taking the dog out and kept dogs and cats active at all times. You can take the dog out one time in the morning and one time in the night. This is not only good for both for the dog but it will also help enhance and improve the relationship and bond between you and the dog. At the same time, while you cannot take a cat out for a walk like you can for a dog, but you can always buy toys from Just Dogs and interactive toys that will make the cat active, that will make the cat chase and see to it that it always remains active, thereby avoiding obesity and being overweight.
That brings us to our final two nutrients, which are vitamins and minerals. Can you explain the importance of? It's very important, but since you've given such detailed explanations of everything, I think might as well give more information on these two. Sure,
Ashish. So, vitamins and minerals come under micronutrients, so they are lower, they are required in lower quantities than the macronutrients. If I speak about vitamins, the total amount of vitamins that is required by the body would be probably a fraction of a teaspoon. That is how less vitamins are actually required in the body. So that being said, they have very important vital roles. Vitamins can be divided into two types, that is water soluble vitamins and fat soluble vitamins. Fat soluble vitamins are vitamin A, D, E and K, and water soluble vitamins are vitamin B and vitamin C. Vitamin A is an important antioxidant. It is also useful for the eye cells, so it improves your vision, your ability to see, and also skin condition can be improved because of vitamin A, or deficiencies of vitamin A can also lead to poor skin condition. Vitamin D is useful for absorption of calcium in the body and therefore is very important for the development of bone and teeth. Vitamin E is again a very important antioxidant. Vitamin K helps in clotting of blood. Vitamin B is not just one vitamin. There is a host of vitamins from B1, B2 to B12, and each of these play a very vital role in several of the metabolic processes within the dog. So vitamin B or B complex, as we know it, is very important to be supplemented in the food of the dog. And last we come to vitamin C. Especially during this coronavirus situation, we have heard a lot about vitamin C.
Yes.
Because vitamin C is a very important antioxidant and it is also known to fight viruses in the body. So please see to it that, and the body cannot synthesize all the vitamins. It needs most of these vitamins supplemented in the diet. So please see to it that you are supply all the essential vitamins and minerals to dogs and cats at all times. As much as possible, choose a good food that provides complete and balanced nutrition. If for some reason you are against pet food, we would still recommend you to have a good pet food, but if some feeding home food, please choose a reputed brand of vitamins and minerals such as Bafer Top 10 to meet the vitamins and mineral needs of the dog or cat. Coming to minerals are inorganic compounds that again can fall into two categories, that is macro minerals and micro minerals. All of these have various functions. Instead of going through each and every mineral, I will probably tell you few of them. For example, macro minerals include calcium, phosphorus, sodium, chloride, magnesium. So all are very useful for several functions. Calcium and phosphorus, as we all know, are very useful for bone and muscular development. sodium chloride are useful for the metabolism of water and to control the fluids in the body. Magnesium is also an important constituent of bones, and also is useful for several other metabolic processes. So it is very important that as far as vitamins and minerals are concerned, you provide precisely balanced levels. Do not provide excesses. If you are feeding a pet food and you find symptoms of vitamin and mineral deficiency, it is better to change the pet food and try another pet food. But if you're feeding the pet food, we would not recommend in ideal cases to supplement along with dry pet food or extruded pet food, because they are already supplemented with sufficient vitamins and minerals. But if you still feel symptoms of vitamin and mineral deficiency, please consult your vet, and maybe it is a good time to change your food.
We've got only 3 minutes, so I'll answer Zubi. Zubi, you're doing well, but you need to brush your dog's teeth so that his mouth doesn't stink anymore. Juhi, golden retriever is perfect for any weather, anywhere in the world. So I'm just trying to give you the answers faster. A little more about antioxidants before we just close, because we've got a couple of minutes and I don't want this to, because after an hour they just end the session and I'll not be able to save it also. So just a bit about.
Absolutely. So antioxidants are required. So for any energy breakdown or for the body to absorb energy, it needs to use oxygen. But in this process of using oxygen, there are certain byproducts known as free radicals, which attack the healthy tissues, cells, and organs in the body. This leads to premature aging and can also lead to several chronic illnesses such as cancer, diabetes, obesity, so on and so forth. Therefore, it is very important that the pet food has a right balance of antioxidants such as vitamin E, vitamin C, beta carotene, and selenium. These are all very good sources of antioxidants so that they fight free radicals, and also have natural preservatives like vitamin E, rosemary extract that will help to preserve the food, prevent the fat from getting rancid, and ensure that the food stays fresh at all times. At the end of the day, it is important to stick to this philosophy that too much of something is good for nothing, and always provide precisely balanced nutrition that is complete and balanced, keeping in mind the life stage, lifestyle, and life condition of your pet's needs.
One more question I want you to take. Once packaged food introduced to my pet, it doesn't like home food. Is it something worrying, as it take completely dependent on packaged food?
I think that is a good thing. In fact, we have answered that why packaged food is essential. Using this question, I would like to just answer, if you're feeding packaged food, do not feed home food, because that will again cause imbalance in the nutrition. I just explained to you that a dog needs 4 times the protein, 2.5 times the vitamin A, 12 times the calcium. So the dog food should ideally be formulated to already feed that. Now, if you feed that in the day and home food in the evening, then the nutritional formula of the home food will be different, and the end result of the nutrition in the blood will be different. Therefore, if you're feeding pet food, please stick to pet food, and that would be the ideal scenario. If you're feeding home food, please consult a vet and identify how can you use different ingredients to meet the nutritional requirements of the dog or cat in that life stage and that life condition.
Last question we are taking is, apart from dog food, what supplements are recommended for growth and better health?
So again, if you're not using a dog food, or if you're feeding home food, or if you see nutritional deficiencies, it would be useful for you to have a multivitamin and mineral tablet such as Top 10 that will give you all essential vitamins, minerals, L-carnitine, zinc for your dogs and cats needs. You can give doggies biotin and taurine, which will supplement biotin and taurine, which is good for skin and coat as well as for the heart and eyes. You can give essential fatty acid supplementation through salmon oil. You can give calcium supplementation through bone builder and calc tablets. So there are several supplements in the market, and you can seek consultation from any of the JUSTDOGS stores to understand which is the best supplement, or please consult your vet if you think that they have a medical condition as well.
So thank you so much, Rakesh ji, for such a lovely, informative session. We don't have time, otherwise I could go on and on and on.
Absolutely.
And just to answer that one question over here, Siberian Husky, like the German Shepherd, is a double coat dog. They shed their inner coat even in weathers like this. So don't worry, it's okay. No, not such a big issue.
Right. Thank you so much, Ashish ji. I think this opportunity was fantastic. And I'm really grateful that I'm permitted to interact with so much of your clients. And thank you so much, guys.